Things I Never Told My Doctor, Part 1 by John P. Gallagher. Introduction. Even though I experienced all the events outlined in this book, I never thought anything more that this is how my life is. I look back now and think that it was a great deal of fun and quite an adventure. I would never think the experiences were bad. Sometimes I thought that it was not a good thing. When I think back to those times, I think it was so much fun, like being at the carnival. I never thought these events were harmful in any way, which is why I never told my doctor. When I got out of the psychiatric hospital and was living on my own again, I started having flashes of memories. I remember things I had not thought about much for years. I decided to put my thoughts onto paper. My recollections occurred over 3 months until I was finished with this book. Chapter 1. I wrote down my various fragments of memories as I was having flashes. I had just gotten out of the psychiatric ward. The skilled hospital staff put me back on my feet with minimum but greatly needed effort on their part. I was the last of 5 born into my family. All the kids were born about 1 or 2 years apart, so my family size grew quickly. My family moved sometime after I was born, so we would have more room. My parents bought us a house, which was to be considered a wedding gift. When I was pre-kindergarten, I spent a lot of time with Mom, since everybody else was in school. She would take me shopping with her. Sometimes we would walk to the stores. I remember Dad had recently bought a car, and one night there was a thunderstorm. My brothers and I were outside looking at the storm's damage. Dad's car was smashed flat by a fallen tree. Once I was with Charlie, he wanted to go to the grocery store instead of going to school. We walked to the ice cream freezer case. He opened a box of ice cream sandwich bars and said, "This is where I come when I cut school. This is my lunch. We do not have to pay for it. Help yourself." I said, "I don't think so." He said, "Sure, there's nobody around." I was hungry, so I started to eat one. Then the grocery clerk came up to us and said, "You're going to pay for that? That's a quarter." Charlie handed him a quarter. I only had a nickel, so I handed it to him and he said that, and I said, "That's all I got." The store clerk said, "You boys get out of here." I was not so thrilled to be cutting school with Charlie. There was another time when Charlie and Patrick, my older brother, wanted me to go to the dime store to get some Hot Rod Monster trading cards with stickers and a piece of gum in the package. We had money, but Charlie and Patrick wanted more than we had money for. They told me that we put them in our pockets. When paying for what we had money for, the store clerk asked us, "What about the ones in your pockets? Are you going to pay for those or put them back?" So we paid for the ones we had money for and put the rest back. Then we went outside, and my brothers showed me how they stuck the stickers on the street lamp post. I said, "It says post no bills, so what are you doing?" Patrick said, "What are you worried about? There's nobody around." Then there was a police siren going off. I said, "So nobody's going to do anything?" We decided to run home. There was a time when I was outside on the porch. Charlie came running down the driveway, chased by 3 other kids. One of them hit Charlie in the head with a board with nails. Charlie was gushing blood. I ran and got Mom. She got Dad. Charlie and I went with Dad to the hospital. I'm not sure what happened to the bullies. My mother figured they did not know what they were doing. I had a friend, Patty, when we lived in Glencoe, Illinois, who had a treehouse. She often seemed distraught. She said for me to not get upset, but she liked me very much as a friend. She told me she thought I did not seem to be interested in her. She liked this other guy who was always hanging around. She would instantly get me whatever snack I asked for. One time, she was showing me her grab bag coin of collections from around the world. I really enjoyed it and wanted to get one of my own someday. After living in Glencoe for a few years, my parents decided to sell the house. They wanted to move to Pennsylvania, since it was a good place to raise a family. Mom would always complain that they could not afford the taxes on that house. We lived at a holiday inn in Pennsylvania for a summer. My brothers Charlie and Patrick and I liked to come home from school, get the keys to open the swimming pool gate, and go for a swim. Mom loved basking in the sun by the pool. Eventually, my parents found a house, and Dad had a job. Eventually, everyone, everyone, including people at school, called the house the big house at the end of the Red Dog Road. That is what most town folks called it. It was not just a driveway, it was a long, winding road. My siblings and I were enrolled in a Catholic parochial school. Mom intended my siblings and me to learn discipline. Mom and Dad always seemed to be talking in code because of Dad's work. I always heard people he talked about being referred to as so and so. Dad would raise his voice at Mom sometimes, so us kids would get up early in the morning and make breakfast for them. We put it on a large tray, took it up to them so that they could have breakfast in bed. We were not sure what to think of the arguing and loud voices. When I was in first grade, Dad gave me a crayon set for schoolwork. I colored in the candles on a cake and a school book I brought home. My teacher, Miss Stella, told us we could take the books home, but not to color in them. I wondered why she told us that. It was like if Mom told me I could not do something, I should ask Dad. Usually, if I could not get an answer from Mom or Dad, they would say to ask the other one. When I brought the book back to school, Miss Stella told me from her desk that Mother Superior and another nun were going to talk to me in the hallway. I went to the hallway and stood in front of them. I was crying hard. Mother Superior said something to me. I was so upset I do not know what she said. Then she said, "You are truly sorry, from what I can see. We will let it go this time. Don't do it again." Our family was walking on the street to a football game that my oldest brother Mark was playing in. There was a patrolman directing traffic for people to cross the street. He waved his flashlight to indicate that we could cross. I ran across in the middle of the road and stood there saying, "Slow pokes." A drunk semi-truck driver with faulty brakes hit me. I was thrown into the air and landed on the shoulder of the road. I was hit on the left side of my body and landed on the right side. The patrolman put a blanket on me. Next thing I remember, I was in the ambulance. Mom was in the ambulance crying. I said, "Mom, I'm okay." She said, "Oh, John, don't move." The next thing I remember, I was in a hospital bed and the nurse woke me up. Mark and a cheerleader came to see how I was doing. They left me a box of candy. My nurse and was the den mother for my brother's Boy Scout group. She would read to me every day. The only problem from the accident was internal bleeding. I was bedridden my entire stay at the hospital. After 2 weeks, I was in good enough health to go home.